LeBron James and Stephen Curry among players who will owe money from 2020 to 2021 salaries. Due to the current coronavirus pandemic, there's been a lot of unprecedented changes all across the country, the kind of changes that leave businesses struggling to cope with their finances and millions of people losing their jobs. It's a very unfortunate situation to be in, and it affects everybody. This includes the National Basketball Association, or NBA for short. Now, you might be surprised by how the National Basketball League with 30 teams is affected by COVID-19. Well, it's pretty simple. Games are bound to get cancelled left and right, and they're projected to lose revenue because of it. In this video, we'll be talking about how the NBA is handling the sudden drop of their revenue caused by the pandemic. They've made an agreement where 25% of their players' paychecks will be withheld. Some of the most famous basketball players might show up here, since you'll be hearing a lot of familiar names. Players like Steph Curry, LeBron James, John Wall, Blake Griffin, and many more will be mentioned here. Because of the pandemic, they'll end up owing money because of this new agreement. But how exactly? Well, that's what we're here to find out for you. Are you ready? Let's get started. Back in April 2020, when the entire world was in the middle of a pandemic, businesses, organizations, and companies were taking drastic measures to reduce the financial losses they might experience. For the NBA, they initially proposed a 50% paycheck reduction for their players, as stated by Shams Charania of The Athletic. In response, the NBPA, or National Basketball Players Association, proposed a 25% decrease that would begin in mid-May. Eventually, the two sides agreed to this counter-proposal, especially since the players' paychecks were already fast approaching during this time. They also needed to decide quickly, especially since the CBA, or Collective Bargaining Agreement, calls for a fair 50-50 revenue split for both the players and the team owners. The reason why the NBA is decreasing the paychecks of their players is so that they won't shoulder the full brunt of the financial cost by the pandemic. It was earlier estimated by Eric Pincus of the Bleacher Report that because the league proposed a 50% paycheck reduction, they were expecting a total loss of more than $1.2 billion. Before the proposal, it is stated that the team owners were the ones who experienced the full effects of the financial burden caused by the stoppage of play, so it's in their best interest to resolve this. So, what on earth does this counter-proposal entail exactly? And why does this mean that some players will end up owing money instead? After all, a salary decrease doesn't mean you'll end up being in debt. And yet, according to our sources, big names like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Blake Griffin, Paul George, and John Wall are going to owe money to the NBA due to this agreement. Well, it's simple actually. These 5 players have already received their salaries in full. This means that they won't be part of the players whose salaries will be deducted. This is because they don't follow the regular 24 bi-monthly installments. They've negotiated their deals that have them getting paid within 12 paychecks instead. So, basically, because they're not part of the salary deductions, they'll have to reimburse the NBA. This is according to Bobby Marks of ESPN. Based on this, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Blake Griffin, John Wall, and Paul George will have to sign an IOU, or a document acknowledging that they have a debt to the NBA since they've already received their 2019-2020 salaries in full. By doing so, they'll be helping balance the revenue split between the owners and players. Overall, the agreement will help protect everybody in case more games will be cancelled in the future. If this agreement wasn't in place, and the players continued to receive their full salaries despite not having played any games, then they would end up owing money to the NBA as well. Therefore, the revenue split isn't balanced, which can cause more problems down the road, such as substantial lump sum payments. If the season returns and the NBA plays most of its remaining games, then the players could get their money back. Well, there you have it, folks. Even the hotshot billionaires are affected by the coronavirus pandemic. It really puts things into perspective, right? Anyway, that's the reason why LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and other players will end up owing money from their 2020-2021 salaries. Still, things are bound to change the more the pandemic progresses. For better or worse, we don't know. Let's stay positive, wash our hands, and practice social distancing. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more future updates. Do you want us to cover anything that interests you? Then leave a comment about what topic you want us to talk about in our next video. Thank you for watching. Are you ready?